so that we can share it with everyone on our webpage and also on our YouTube channel. So if you have to duck out early, that's totally fine. You'll still have access to everything. And so I just want to take a minute and introduce myself. I'm Kashmir Beland. I'm the Grants and Administration Manager here at the Arts Council. We also have on the call Amara Faring, who is our Community Development and Arts Learning Specialist. And then we also have our Assistant Director, Rachel Clifton. So they're going to kind of help me keep track of questions. So feel free to either type them in the chat or raise your hand. And we can always do it at the end too. If you guys think of anything at the end, I'm sure we'll probably have plenty of time. So I guess we'll just kind of give a brief overview of what the Community Support Grant is, just in case you're unfamiliar with it or you haven't applied in the past. So it is for organizations that provide services to their communities in the arts, like through the arts, and you can receive up to $10,000 in operating and or project support. And then you can also receive up to $5,000 in arts learning support for any programs that take place from July 1st of 2023 until June 30th of 2024. So those are the dates to kind of keep in mind. And all of this information is also on our website, just to give you a brief overview. So going into who is eligible to apply for this community support grant, the organizations need to be a 501c3 nonprofit or a government agency. And so those government agencies might include municipal, county, state, federal government, tribal government, or higher education or school districts. So if you're not one of those organizations, you can still apply, but you will need a fiscal sponsor who meets that requirement. So something I wanted to share with you, I'm going to share my screen now and bear with me. Make sure I pull up the right one here. So we do have some information available on our website. And that is, if you don't know what it is, you can always search it, or you can go to wyomingartscouncil.org. So on here, if you go to the grants tab, we do have just an overview of all of our grants and everything. And then for the eligibility and funding requirements, we do have a little section here with more information about using a fiscal sponsor. So using a fiscal sponsor, you would need a letter to, press the wrong button there. You'll need to have them sign a letter stating that they are willing to serve as your fiscal sponsor. Did we have any questions that we had right off the bat? No? Yes?
No, Kashmir, I'm just going to drop some links into the chat so that people can grab them right out of there if that's easier.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Okay, and so something else that I'd like to just kind of bring up is on our grant guidelines page, and we'll kind of talk about this a little bit later too, is there is some information about the funding limitations that we have in place just because we do receive federal money, so we do need to follow the NEA terms and conditions. Is some of the allowable costs, in case you're not, necessarily familiar with all of it on there. It is a quite comprehensive list. I know they're working on coming up with something that's a little bit more, maybe user-friendly would be the best term for it. But we do have, a summarization on our website. We also have the link here for the actual NEA terms and conditions, just for, some things that you might not think about when you're putting that in your application, of things that you want to cover in your event, like food or, fundraising, things like that. So, and if you have questions, always feel free to reach out to us if you can't think of anything right now at any point. So let me see here. Okay, so I wanted to also remind everyone that with this grant, there is a cash match required. So it is a one-to-one cash match that you'll need to match with income from your own organization. You can match from another grant, but it cannot be federal money. You cannot match federal money with federal money. So, if you have like a state grant or something like that, this might not necessarily pertain to you, but we do sometimes run into that situation. And if you're not sure, like I said, just always feel free to reach out to us. So, did we have any questions before I move on to the Foundant system, our online grant system? No? Good. Okay. Awesome. Just a second here. I have some notes so I don't forget anything. All right, so I kind of just wanted to walk you all through. Some of this might not necessarily pertain to you if you've already applied with us before, but I just kind of wanted to show you what it's like to actually create a new account and then go into the application itself, just to kind of give you a heads up on things. So the easiest way to probably apply is through the grants tab on our website. So if you go to the grants tab right here and you go to the community support grant, you'll scroll to the bottom and you'll see a little blue apply here. So if we click on that, and let me just go to that tab instead. Okay, so you'll notice on the side here that we do have some information. So Foundant is new to us as of 2021. So if you had applied before that, your information will not have carried over from Cyber Grants. So you'll probably need to create a new account. And we have all that information over here. But I just wanted to call out, if you think that you might, or someone else in your organization might have created an account previously, please call me or email me, whatever you prefer. I would happily look that up for you. That way it's easier to make sure that all of your information is housed under one organization instead of having multiples in there, just so it's easier for you, it's easier for us, and it's just all around better. So yeah. And then if we are creating a new account, I just wanted to give you some idea of what all information you're going to need. So, because you can't save it if you've already started to create it. So you'll want to have your tax ID number, which will go over here, and then your organization name, and just a little housekeeping thing and an FYI thing for everyone. When you do your organization name, and this is something you can check on later too, you'll want to put in there that the information that matches the Secretary of State, what's on file with the Secretary of State. So, and I'll show you, how to access that website in case you're not familiar with it. But it's just a little helpful to have that match in case you are awarded funds. That way, everything is good to go on the contract and there's no hold up there. But I check that anyway, so it's not a big deal, but just a little heads up. And then you'll also notice that we have this little UEI. So I'm sure some of you, or most of you, are already familiar with it. If you're not, the UEI is the Unique Entity Identifier. It's the new DUNS number, basically, that was started in April of 2022 by the federal government. So if you haven't gotten one of these, I would strongly recommend that you do that as soon as possible, just because it has proven quite tedious for some people, and it has gotten a bit better, but it can still get a little bogged down with all the help tickets that they get. So I always encourage you to get that as soon as you can. I'm just gonna grab a quick drink here. So we do have some information on our website, a little webinar that I think is pretty useful as far as seeing what it's like step by step. They just released this back in December. So if you have any holdups with it, I would really take a look at that. And I will actually show you where we have that information on our website. So if you're on our page here, if you just go to the grant section there, right here at the fourth little bullet point is the UEI help webinar. I think this has been great help. It taught me things that I didn't know. So I strongly encourage you watch that. And if you're still having questions, feel free to send me a screenshot. I will do my best to do any digging I can to help you figure out where you are stuck in the process. It's a federal site, so I can't actually, go behind the scenes and see what all is going on, but those screenshots have really helped out, I think. So definitely use that as a tool. Did we have any questions? I kind of jumped ahead there a little bit without pausing. Good? Yeah? Okay. All right. We'll keep winging on through. All right, so we're back to here. And so you'll just, other information you'll need is, just basic information, email, street address, phone number, things like that. So I'm not going to actually create an account right this second, just to not have, a whole bunch of different accounts in there. So I'm just going to real quickly log into mine so I can show you what it's actually like when you're looking at your dashboard. So bear with me. Okay, let me just change my rule here. Okay, so once you've got that account created, this is what you're going to be looking at when you log in. It'll have any active requests right here. So when I was just kind of going in through here, you'll see that I've already started an application. If this is a brand new account, you won't have anything necessarily here. And you'll have to go to a different screen to apply. So if we're going to apply, we'll go to this little apply button right up top here. And you'll notice that we have all of our open applications on here right now. So you'll see 4 different ones. The one you're obviously looking for is the community support grant. And it's right up top, very first one that you'll see. And then this button would normally be blue, this little gray button that says apply. But since I've already practiced starting one, it is not. So that's the reason that one is different. So we're just going to go into this request so we can take a look at the application. So right off the bat, you'll notice this little bright red about adding your UEI. So if it's been a while since you've applied, like if you applied in FY21, but you didn't apply, or in 2021, and you didn't apply in 2022, you probably haven't added your UEI. So this is just a little reminder to make any updates that you're going to need. Just helpful contact information for us, basically. And how you can do that is if you actually can do it right from this page, you can click these little pencil icons. So if you want to change your organization information, like your address is changed or your phone number, that you can do right here. If you needed to change the applicant, say you're new to your organization and you haven't added your information in here yet, you can do that right from this page right here. You just click on that and update away and it'll save it. So I just want to remind everyone, we are doing another workshop on next Thursday at the same time. And we're going to be going over like project eligibility and more of like the content of your application. Today, I'm kind of just showing you more of like the eligibility things that I'm checking when I'm looking at applications. So if you have questions about the other things, feel free to ask them. But just so you know, we are going to cover that a little bit later too. And that session will also be recorded. So what I'm going to focus on is I'm going to scroll down here just a little bit to the application verification section, just to kind of give you some tips on filling this stuff out so you don't have me bothering you later on. So, so we have some things here, just some basic information, making sure you read through those grant guidelines that are on our website, and then the Secretary of State verification. So this can kind of hold people up sometimes. Their website's a little confusing. So I've tried to make sure that we have, some detailed descriptions on here, but just so you can see, sometimes it's a little bit easier to watch than it is to try and read through all of this jargon on here. So we do have a link straight to the website. So the reason we have to have this is because an organization needs to be compliant with the Secretary of State to receive grant funding. So that's why we ask you to upload this information right here. So it's easy access, and it's something that we just send along with the contracts when we have the Attorney Generals look them over, just so you kind of know where this information goes. So we have this little link. I'm going to click on that and switch tabs real fast. Okay, so right away it'll take you to the search section. You don't have to really do much clicking around in here, which is nice. So all you would do is just type your organization's name. So I'm just going to type party and see what comes up. Okay, so let's say it was Party America that I was adding. All right, so we would just click on whatever name matches your organization. So you'll want to click on that. It'll take you to this detail page. And then all you need to do is there's this little print button right in the corner here with the Adobe symbol. It will download that information right to your computer. You don't have to do anything else. So you can close that tab, and we're just going to come right back to the application. And right here is where you would actually just upload that file that automatically downloaded for you. So it's pretty simple. And then you'll just want to make sure that you click the right box, yes, no, or if you're using a fiscal sponsor. So this section is a little bit different if you're using a fiscal sponsor. And I'll kind of show you where that is different at. So I'm sorry if this is a little confusing. We're going back up to the beginning of the application here to where it will ask you if you're using a fiscal sponsor to apply. So let's say you are using a fiscal sponsor to apply. We'll hit yes, and that gives us a new section that we need to fill out. Obviously, this doesn't appear if you click no, but if you were to click yes, you would just need to add in your fiscal sponsor's information in here, their legal name, their tax ID, their UEI, and then you add their SOS information into here. So you don't have to add it in twice. You just add it into the appropriate section if you're using a fiscal sponsor here. If you're not, it'll be at the bottom of your application. And if we just scroll back down to where we were before, a little bit further down here, you'll see in this little box here, it asks you if you have a fiscal sponsor, all you would need to do is check that little box. You don't have to add it again. If you want to, that's totally up to you. That's fine. Just to kind of simplify it so you don't have to keep trying to upload things to the computer. And then as we work through that, we have our artist and venue directory. So that's actually tied back into our website, and it's just a great resource for you to use so people can look up your information a little bit easier than, trying to Google everything. So yeah, we just ask that you make sure that you've updated any information, or if you've never applied and you're not in the directory, go ahead and add that in there. It's just such a great tool for people to find you out. So one other thing, I guess maybe let me pause for just a second and see if anybody had any questions. Anything? No? You good? Okay, I'm going to jump back. All right, so one other section, just to kind of give you a little reminder on again, is this, the ADA 504 requirement. So if you don't have a self-evaluation or checklist or an accessibility plan, please use our resources. We have a little link, this little click here. It'll take you right to a checklist that you can actually print out and use to have on file, because you will need to have this on file and update it every 3 years, just so you are compliant with that measure. So let me see here. Am I forgetting anything?
Kashmir, I'm just going to drop Josh Chrysler on our staff overseas. He's our 504 coordinator. So I'm just going to drop his email address in the chat. If you have questions about filling out the forms here or you want more resources, feel free to reach out to Josh. He's a great resource for that work.
Thank you, Rachel. Perfect. Okay, great. All right. So, one other thing. It's a pretty nifty little tool that not everybody knows about. So when you're applying and say you need another staff member to look at the application, or you want a board member to take a look, there is a tool that you can use to grant them access without necessarily having to give them like your login information. So we have this little button right at the top here of your application. It's blue and it says collaborate. If you click on that, it's going to bring up a little box where you can put their information in. You can put their email address, a little message to let them know, hey, this isn't spam. And then it will ask you to give them permissions. So you can either just let them see the application if you just want them to take a look at it. You can have them edit, or you can even let them submit the application. So I will say one thing to keep in mind is if you let them submit, they can also edit and view. So it's kind of just a little bit like a descending order here. If you give them one, it'll just give them like everything. So, just depending on what you need them to do. And you don't have to use that feature. It's just a nice thing that some people don't realize you have the option to do. And then something else would be, if you don't want to sit and fill this whole thing out in one sitting, there is a nice little feature right down here at the bottom to save your application. So you don't have to do it all in one sitting. You can work at it a little bit at a time. Just make sure that when you are done, that you hit the submit button. You'll get an automatic email to you, whatever email address you have set up with your account, letting you know that it has been submitted. Always check your spam because sometimes it does seem to go there. If you don't get anything, please just give me a call. I am happy to look that up for you just to make sure that we got your application and everything is good to go on that. Rachel and Amara, can you think of things that I forgot?
Do you maybe just want to walk through, because it can be a lot all in one sitting looking at the whole screen. Do you just want to point out the little arrow tabs on the left-hand side so that folks can either expand or collapse sections as they're working?
Yes. Good point. Okay. So, all right. So at the very top here, for each new section that is the bold and larger type here, you can actually click these little, I forget they are there. You can actually click those little arrows and it'll collapse it. So that way you don't have to see all of that as you're going through. And some of these are like linked questions. So when you're going through and you're answering questions and you're like, oh no, this seems longer or this seems shorter than what was on the workshop, it's because some of the questions are linked. So, if you answer yes to something, like we answered yes to the fiscal sponsor, and then we got that information. So it just depends on how you answer the question. So always just double check and go through that you answered everything correctly, yes or no, just so you don't miss out on, if you wanted to apply for arts learning, but you hit no, and then you don't have those fields to fill out. We are going through and checking them, but just as a FYI, it's never a bad idea to just peruse that so you don't have any surprises later on. So yeah, you just click those, it'll get rid of all of that for you. So, and then to just expand them, you just click it again and it just brings it right back up. Was there any questions or anything else you thought of that I might have forgotten?
None that I can think of, Kashmir. Should we just open it up for questions now? Or if there are parts of the system that folks are struggling with or want to see while Kashmir has her screen open, now would be a good time to have her kind of walk through any sections that tend to cause confusion or that you're stuck on.
Maybe not.
I have one, Kashmir.
Okay.
So can you talk a little bit about the UEI and if you can receive funding without it?
Oh, yes. So, no, you cannot receive funding without the UEI. So you can submit your application to us, but we cannot disperse any money without the UEI. So let me actually just pull up the sam.gov website. It's pretty helpful. So it's got a lot of information on here. Like I said, it can be helpful, but at the same time, it's not always the most intuitive website to use. So if you're on here, you'll want to make sure that you are ready to get started. You'll get started, and then it'll have you log in, and then you'll have to go in and do this screen all over again. Like I said, it's not always the most user-friendly. They do have a lot of helpful articles on here as far as you can like search a specific topic, but I think honestly, I've dabbled enough in it that if you're really just lost in the woods with it, please let me know. There are some things where you'd want to use their live chat or their call feature for, but like I said, that webinar that they released is definitely a lot better. It is a little frustrating working through this site, but we will get you through it. And also just something that, a little thing that we've kind of run into a lot of questions on is, do I need to register or can I just get my UEI? So you don't technically need to register with the sam.gov website when you're going through this. It's only if you're applying directly to the federal government that you also need to register. So it might make a bit more sense once you're actually in the system and you're applying for your UEI, but really you just probably want your UEI. Like I said, unless you're applying directly to the government for any federal awards, you don't worry about it. Just a question I usually get from folks because it is a little confusing. Yeah.
So can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. I had a question about the project operating support funding versus the arts learning. And maybe I have an old copy, but I do have an old copy. I just answered myself. Thank you. Mine says it was what? The original one I had was 7,000 for project and operating support and 3,000 for arts learning. Now I'm looking on the website and now it says operating and or project support is 10 and arts learning is 5. Da-da.
Yep, we did bump that up this year. So yeah, that is correct. The 10 and 5 for FY24 at least. So
great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Is there any other, am I missing anything? Okay.
The one other thing, Kashmir, I'm going to drop in the chat for everyone, and I think Amara will probably cover this a bit more in depth next week at next week's webinar, but we do post on our website the evaluation criteria. So this is the exact language that the panelists use when they're reviewing your grant application. And sometimes it's just helpful to have this in front of you as well when you're writing your grant, just so you know kind of what they're looking for and how you should maybe be tailoring some of your answers. So that's also linked on our website. It's linked within, Kashmir's pointed out right now where it's linked in the application itself. But the document is right there as well. So you can take a look at that and kind of know exactly the weight of each question and how it will be scored and what questions they'll be looking at.
Okay, well, we don't have anything else. I guess I kind of talked fast, which I knew I would, but you know, it's how it goes, I guess. Well, I guess if we don't have any other questions, we can kind of wrap up. So just a reminder, next Thursday, March 30th, we'll be here again from 12 to, 1, almost said 12 to noon. So yeah, feel free to join us for that call as well. And like I said, if you think of something off later today, always give us a call, always give us an email. We're always welcome to help you with your applications. Any other weird things that come up. If you need your password reset, feel free to call me. If you need to add a user to your account and you don't want it to be like a collaborator, but you just want to add someone in so they can do whatever whenever they need to, I can do that easily enough. Also, just need an email address and a name. So yeah, anything you run into with Foundit, always give me a call. I am your help. So yeah, but I guess that's it. Thank you all for joining us. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Kashmir.
you. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Amara, for being my support here. So yeah, have a great day, folks.
Bye, everyone.